This is going to end. Hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later.
The president joins national health officials in warning Americans about the potential spread of COVID-19 coronavirus in the United States.
The degree of risk has the potential to change quickly, and we can expect to see more cases.
I think that there's a chance that it could get worse. There's a chance it could get fairly substantially worse.
We have 2 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Georgia.
This is late-breaking news. I mean, literally for us as well.
Really emphasizing that the threat to the public remains fairly low.
There's been a huge demand for the disinfecting wipes and the hand sanitizer. Of course, the face masks were gone 2 weeks ago.
It's the kind of demand they don't even see during a typical flu season.
Infectious disease specialists say there is no need for those concerned about the virus in our state to wear masks. We are tracking the deadly COVID-19 coronavirus outbreak minute by minute.
In the midst of the coronavirus outbreak, some 250 people have been stuck on the Grand Princess cruise ship will be flying to Georgia.
The COVID-19 coronavirus is now a pandemic.
The World Health Organization says it is deeply concerned about how quickly it's spreading.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days.
From the NCAA, there will be no fans allowed at the Final Four games.
As the spread of the coronavirus continues, so does the urgency to find a vaccine.
The time frame for manufacturing the vaccine will take at least a year. Just 10 days ago, state leaders reported Georgia's first cases of coronavirus. Today, its first death.
It is with great sadness that we have to report the state's first patient death from COVID-19.
Governor Brian Kemp is issuing a call to action.
If you feel that it is prudent, you should consider closing daycares, schools, or school districts.
And school districts are listening.
I am announcing the closing of all Fulton County schools and district offices to begin tonight.
And with so many questions surrounding the coronavirus outbreak here in Georgia, we are pleased to welcome Governor Brian Kemp.
He is live from the state capitol tonight. Thanks for being with us tonight.
We're ramping up. What we have the ability to do at the state labs, we have additional equipment that's on the way right now.
What kind of indications are you getting as to how long this might last if we all do the right thing and keep that social distance?
Well, I don't really know that I can answer that question. We're going to take this one day at a time. If we get where we feel like we can answer that, we'll try to be transparent with people.
It's important to remember this virus is not only affecting our state, but the entire country.
The coronavirus is sending the sports world into uncharted territory.
The traveler who posted this video says more than 100 seats were empty on that plane.
I think people that are in the grocery store right now, I don't think you need to buy every loaf of bread on the shelf. Save one for your neighbor.
President Trump declared a national emergency this afternoon. During the coronavirus outbreak, it's important not to let the positive developments go unnoticed.
Several local census groups have put their door-knocking campaigns on hold.
Tonight, we are answering the call for everyone to participate in social distancing. Georgia is now reporting its first coronavirus case at an assisted living facility. Governor Kemp says the state is investigating nearly 30 cases of price gouging. Most of them are for food and water at grocery stores.
Panic buying has left toilet paper shelves empty in stores all across the country.
We're asking the young people to help us with this mitigation strategy.
Millennials may have very mild or asymptomatic disease, and they
have to fight that invisible enemy that I guess unknown, but we're getting to know it a lot better. The Department of Housing and Urban Development is providing immediate relief to renters and homeowners by suspending all foreclosures and evictions until the end of April.
According to Johns Hopkins University, more than 82,000 people have recovered from the virus worldwide. And breaking tonight, China's health ministry says Wuhan, the original epicenter of COVID-19, has reported no new cases today for the very first time.
Advocates against domestic violence say isolation during the COVID-19 outbreak can increase the risk of violence in households. The virus is having an impact on the global economy.
Think about it. That recommendation from the CDC to stay 6 feet apart from the next individual, well, law enforcement officers can't maintain that.
The FDA is fast-tracking possible treatments for infected patients.
One thing I know about this great country of ours is that we have unbelievable innovators.
Several judges announced they will release certain inmates early in an effort to free up space in jails. It's an effort to reduce the risk of people spreading the coronavirus.
I'm a bartender. I work for tips. So with my restaurant being shuttered, I have no tips coming in.
Today, I will be issuing an executive order requiring the Department of Public Health to require certain individuals with an increased risk of complications from COVID-19 to isolate, quarantine, or shelter in place.
Our country will be stronger than ever before, and we fully anticipate that, and it won't be that long.
We can change the trajectory of this pandemic.
Just moments ago, the mayor said that there will be a citywide shelter in place. That is for all Atlanta residents.
This should not be a time for political agendas, but rather one for focusing solely and squarely on the needs of the American people.
And yet, the nation's lawmakers are struggling to pass a stimulus package to help Americans get through this crisis. More than 113,000 people have recovered around the world. That's out of the nearly 467,000 cases confirmed. How about that? An incredible sound from Midtown tonight. Oh, it's a way of saying thank you to first responders and medical staff.
It is the impact of COVID-19 on air travel all over the country. Atlanta's airport is, quote, burning cash, unquote, from lost revenues.
Here's what's really different. A hurricane or a tornado is coming. There is absolutely nothing that we can do to stop that or prevent it. This is completely different. It's in the citizens' hands of this state.
The rural southwest corner has the highest rate of coronavirus infection in the entire state of Georgia, according to the Associated Press. The U.S. has now surpassed Italy and China with the highest number of cases worldwide. More than 1,000 people have died in our country alone. U.S. Navy ships are heading to the hardest hit cities in the country. 2 ships will work to relieve local hospitals. We begin tonight with big news that will impact millions of Americans. President Trump signed a more than $2 trillion deal to fight the COVID-19 pandemic and send economic relief to workers and businesses.
Here in Georgia, leaders are taking this very seriously. One county with a shelter-in-place order says it will even prosecute residents who violate it.
On this National Doctors Day, I just want to pause for a moment and thank all those hardworking doctors that are on the front lines of this healthcare fight.
Well, millions of students are at home during the COVID-19 pandemic. There are concerns that some children could fall behind in schoolwork because of a digital divide.
Georgia's 2 senators and their 9 fellow Republican members of Congress are urging Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to push back the election of May 19th.
My mother and I, we were positive for the coronavirus. It's hard to hear, especially after losing my dad from it. I just want people to understand that it doesn't have to be this way.
I'm a little bit frustrated because you're still seeing pictures on Twitter, on TV, of people getting together, being too close.
We have an empty studio there tonight. It's because we're doing everything we can to enforce social distancing.
She says what she saw there was like a war zone.
I feared for my life. I feared for my life. And I prayed about it, and I said, Lord, if you want me to stay, I'm going to stay.
Georgia is officially now under a shelter-in-place order.
Michigan, Connecticut, Indiana, Georgia, Illinois, so that should tell you where the next hotspots are coming.
Most of us think of Helen as that quaint town in the mountains with a German flair. But now, in the middle of this coronavirus pandemic, this German town is a ghost town.
Data shows crime in the city of Atlanta has gone down during the pandemic, likely because people are staying home. Labs around the world are working overtime to find a potential treatment for COVID-19. FEMA is stockpiling hydroxychloroquine.
Habersham County Chairman Stacey Hall and leaders in 11 other North Georgia counties all sent a letter to Governor Brian Kemp asking him to close the state parks to help stop the spread of COVID-19.
New numbers showing it's especially brutal for African Americans.
Cobb County's elections officials sending out an SOS, saying thousands of voters are flooding their offices with absentee ballots. And a strong show of support for a COVID-19 patient who no longer needs a ventilator. And she became the hospital's first coronavirus patient to leave the ICU. Officials have decided to push back the state's primary election again. It's now set for June the 9th.
And although our newscast may look a little different, we're still here together to give you the latest information.
It has been a war of words between President Trump and the World Health Organization. The president decided to halt funding to the WHO.
The United States of America has been a long-standing and generous friend to WHO. and we hope it will continue to be so.
From disinfecting nursing homes to helping distribute meals at the food bank, Georgia soldiers are responding like never before.
You can see each of those icons on the map is a team of soldiers working in our communities to keep families safe.
I know that the journey ahead is going to be a long one. We must remain laser focused on defeating this virus and keeping our citizens safe.
Governor Brian Kemp announces a number of businesses can reopen this Friday. That includes some you see on your screen: gyms, fitness centers, bowling alleys, beauty shops and salons.
1 week from today, next Monday, restaurants and movie theaters can also reopen.
Now, the next point is a very important one. The entities which I'm reopening are not reopening as business as usual.
Explain why you would start with those kinds of businesses on day one?
Well, those are the ones who are closed. The other businesses in Georgia are still currently opening under the order that I have now.
In less than 48 hours, Georgia is set to begin reopening during the COVID-19 pandemic. Did Governor Brian Kemp make that move too soon?
I told the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, that I disagree strongly. I want the states to open more than he does, much more than he does. But I didn't like to see spas at this early stage.
Instead of doing something, they want to pause. Well, there's no pause in hunger or joblessness or not being able to pay the rent. The list goes on.
I want to talk a little bit about the coronavirus pandemic and just this world we are living in now. Is this a sign of things to come for November?
I think it could be, and I think a lot of people will contemplate whether or not they want to even try to head to the polls in November, whether the coronavirus is kind of making its second wave or not, because who wants to wait in line for that long? I think the social distancing, I think, the cleaning of the machines I saw was happening, a lot of sanitizing, it was holding up the lines.
Late breaking news tonight, it is now mandatory to wear a face mask in the city of Atlanta.
Here in Fulton County, officials say the demand for more tests is overwhelming testing sites and labs.
Data reveals that 1 in every 10 Georgians have tested positive for the virus since the pandemic began.
This evening, researchers at Emory University reported anxiously awaited findings from phase 1 of the first human trial for a vaccine. Fox 5 anchor Christine Spiro joins us now. And Christine, these results are encouraging to say the least.
Yeah, that's right, Courtney. Scientists say after getting the shot, patients produced antibodies to fight coronavirus.
Some hospitals are seeing beds at full or nearly full capacity. In fact, the Grady Health System says its situation is, quote, frightening.
I'm asking Georgians to do their part. After all, it's the community that defeats this virus, not the government.
Governor Brian Kemp says he doesn't need more mandates to get COVID-19.
The first day of school will be the first day of school. You can expect hiccups. You can expect challenges. But I guarantee you, your kids will be safe. Your teachers will be safe.
The governor is urging residents to do 4 things every day for the next 4 weeks. First, wear a mask in public. Practice social distancing.
The governor also addressed his lawsuit against Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and the Atlanta City Council.
Meantime, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms is speaking up. She posted this tweet saying, quote, reading is fundamental. Governor Kemp is suing Atlanta over recommended guidelines.
It's an issue on many minds tonight, COVID-19 and the classroom. At least 1 student and hundreds of employees have already tested positive for the deadly virus.
You cannot recover from the grave. You can't. And that's the bottom line for me.
In a pandemic power struggle, the governor just filed to withdraw a lawsuit against the city and the mayor over her COVID-19 regulations and her mask mandate. Now, he said Mayor Bottoms agreed to abandon Atlanta's phase 1 rollback plan. That included recommendations for some businesses to close, but simply put, the mayor says the governor is lying and that she never agreed to that. A 5th person under the age of 20 has now died from the virus in Georgia. A new report from the White House Coronavirus Task Force claims Georgia currently leads the country with the highest number of new cases per capita. A COVID-19 vaccine trial has been put on hold while AstraZeneca investigates a patient who developed a serious illness. The company is not sure yet whether that illness was caused by the vaccine.
The Clark County School District has a tentative 3-phase plan to get students back in the classroom for face-to-face learning. But what's not clear right now is when exactly they can take that first step.
Russian officials started administering a COVID vaccine to residents in Moscow today. Health experts have raised red flags about this vaccine, saying there is not enough data to prove that it's effective or safe.
More than 50 people are under arrest tonight, accused of committing fraud to get money from the Paycheck Protection Program.
Our cases are diverse in size and scope, involving fraud.
U.S. Airlines started to lay off more than 32,000 workers. Virus deaths in our state have now surpassed 9,000.
The American people can be absolutely assured that it's safe, it's effective, and it is the way to put the nail in the coffin of this pandemic.
Breaking tonight, the FDA approves a COVID-19 vaccine for use here in the United States. The news comes as more than 15.8 million Americans have tested positive for the virus.
2.9 million doses of the vaccine are ready to go. Those will be shipped out to about 600 sites across the country.
Operation Warp Speed helped scientists produce and deliver a COVID-19 vaccine in record time. But it's not worth much if people who want it can't get it.
DeKalb County Health Department has 8,200 shots. As of Wednesday, they vaccinated 492 people.
That new variant has been detected here in the U.S., including in Georgia.
For some seniors, just finding the right website, hoping it doesn't crash, and scheduling appointments can be daunting.
As struggling Americans wait for word about the third round of stimulus checks, money only gets tighter. Unemployment is still high and thousands are dying daily.
Georgia's Department of Public Health seizing COVID vaccines from the Medical Center of Elberton, after the family practice clinic confirmed it had vaccinated 177 teachers, even though they weren't part of the current priority group.
As of tonight, about 69% of Georgia's vaccine supply has been administered. Now, keep in mind that number includes people getting their second dose. Johnson & Johnson has asked the FDA to give its vaccine emergency use authorization. It would be the world's first single-dose COVID-19 vaccine.
The longer it takes to vaccinate those most at risk everywhere, the more opportunity we give the virus to mutate and evade vaccines.
Grim news, though. Over the weekend, state health officials reported our deadliest day during the pandemic. The head of the World Health Organization says the emergence of new COVID-19 variants has raised the question of whether existing vaccines will work.
In the midst of this moratorium as well as COVID, I've been evicted.
Thousands of families like Angela Miller are struggling to make ends meet.
A research team with the World Health Organization is in Wuhan, China, investigating how the outbreak started.
These are the lowest numbers we've had really since the end of last year.
Dr. Robert Jansen is the chief medical officer of the Grady Health System. He says the downward trending data is a good thing. And what about the CDC recommendation that 2 masks are better than 1? Dr. Jansen agrees, but says there is a caveat.
Although ideally, yes, everybody would wear a disposable mask and then a cloth mask. If we could just get everybody to mask, we would be in good shape.
We know that this virus has affected minority populations disproportionately in many ways.
The governor reiterates that vaccine distribution will depend on the state's supply, which comes from the federal government.
We know that we will have enough vaccines to provide them to the American people by the end of the summer, but a vaccine is not a vaccination.
According to a new poll from AP, about a third of Americans are not planning to get the vaccine.
Without robust action, the recovery is going to be long and painful, and we want to get out of that ditch.
Came here to deliver help for the people of Georgia. And working with Leader Schumer and colleagues, Senator Reverend Warnock and I are here to inform the people of Georgia that we are working to advance this
with a mandate to address the devastation of this public health crisis for our state and our country. And we intend to live up to that promise.
The CDC has released its much anticipated guidelines to get America's children back in the classroom.
Now, the agency says it's not mandating that schools open, but it is safe for schools to do so as long as they take certain mitigation steps. State health officials say both Pfizer and Moderna shipments have been delayed by the manufacturers because of the weather. 4 mass COVID-19 vaccination sites will open across the state next week.
Last month, the state suspended the Medical Center of Elberton for 6 months from administering COVID vaccines. Instead of waiting until July 27th to begin receiving doses and administering vaccines, the center now only has to wait until March 14th.
So far, only DeKalb County teachers have been back in the classroom, but in 2 weeks, students will now have the option.
I'm disappointed because our teachers need to be vaccinated.
This country will have enough vaccine supply, I'll say it again, for every adult in America by the end of May.
President made the announcement just a few days after the FDA approved the third vaccine for emergency use.
Exactly
the Johnson
1 year ago tonight, Governor Kemp announced the first 2 cases of COVID-19 in our state. Since then, more than 15,000 people have died.
We still see way too many people hospitalized with COVID-19, even though our numbers are starting to look better.
The March 8th expansion will open up vaccine to roughly 1 million more Georgians. So we definitely expect heavy demand.
The state is not stopping there. They plan to ramp up vaccinations even more. Governor Kemp says 5 more mass vaccination sites will open across the state.
After numerous protests by teachers across Georgia, we are just days away from educators lining up for the COVID vaccination.
My anxiety level has been so incredibly high this year, and this is just, it's just bringing me some peace.
The U.S. House gave final congressional approval today to the sweeping COVID-19 relief deal.
We Democrats made promises, particularly we did in the Senate. We said if we won those 2 seats in Georgia, we would get things done.
On March 15th, we will be expanding vaccination criteria further to include all Georgians over the age of 55 and those with high-risk conditions.
I will direct all states, tribes, and territories to make all adults, people 18 and over, eligible to be vaccinated no later than May 1.
President Biden signed the historic $1.9 trillion relief deal today. It's on the minds of millions of Americans. When can you expect the $1,400 stimulus check to be in your pocket? The IRS says processing is already underway, and some will see the money in their bank accounts as early as tonight. A milestone for vaccination efforts in our state. More than 1 million Georgians have been fully vaccinated.
Thanks to the Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson vaccines, Georgia is heading in the right direction. And that's one reason why organizers of some